And now, the reason we got out of bed this morning, for music and the spoken giggles, Singing Mama and Auntie B are our very own soulful duets.
Good morning, everybody.
Good morning. How we doing? How we doing?
Good. How are you? How are
Good.
you?
I am good. Do you see this person right here? Oh, right here. That one right there.
I do. I see right here.
Who is she?
I see her.
What's her
She
name?
is Robyn Adams.
Robyn Adams. Hi. How you doing?
Hi. I'm doing pretty great this morning. How are you guys?
Doing well. Doing well. Thank you for asking.
I'm very shaky, clearly. Look at that. Shaking all over the place.
You gotta get that checked out. It's not
I
okay.
know. I know.
Shake.
That'd be an issue.
Little Parkinson's in my laptop. Oh. This is Robyn shakes hers. Awesome. It's contagious.
I'm moving. You're shaking. There's a difference.
Sure. Yeah.
Moving and shakers. Movers and shakers.
Whatever you got to tell yourself, it's all good. It's all good. Oh my gosh, today marks a very cool day. Something crazy cool happened 17 years ago.
It's true. This thing happened.
What? This.
What?
She said something very cool happened 17 years ago, and I said, yes, this thing happened.
Happy birthday, sweetie.
Yeah. Happy birthday.
Happy birthday.
She can't hear us at all.
No, she can't. Here, I'll put this in for a second. We have to come closer. And it doesn't fit because it's in the wrong ear.
Happy birthday.
Thank you.
We love you.
Every time.
Do you remember Robyn?
I don't believe so, no.
She
That's
remembers
okay,
you.
honey.
It's been a long time.
You were tiny.
You were like 7.
I'm still
Oh my
tiny.
gosh, it was like 10 years ago.
You're not tiny.
I know.
Almost 10 years ago. It was like 9 years ago. But still.
Mhm.
It's crazy how
It's a
time
long
flies. Anyway, happy birthday. We love you so much.
Danke.
You're welcome. Alrighty, on to the day. Today we have Robyn here because she's going to talk to us about her walk with Jesus. And we're going to be asking her some questions and getting some feels. But for now, where are you living and what are you doing with your life?
Right now, I live in Texas. I'm in a small town called Seguin, and we moved here about 3 years ago. And I've re-identified myself, God knows how many times, because that's what happens as we grow and change.
It's true.
And I am now a life coach and a relationship coach and a teen coach. And I help people through the hard times to kind of compress time. It took me a long time to learn the lessons, to get through the hard stuff. And a lot of times I was struggling and kind of drowning a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
And it can feel like you're really alone. So I now get to help people as my job, not just who I am naturally, on that walk to get them where they want to go instead of kind of floundering and just kind of ending up wherever it happens to be.
Fantastic.
That's cool.
That is really, really great. So this is a place that you've kind of been, like, since I've known you, which it's been a minute. Since I've known you, you've always been kind of a go-to person. Somebody who would tell it like it is. You don't mix in, like, the sugar and the shit. You just kind of give it out.
Yeah.
Yep.
And both. Like, you give a lot of sugar and you give a lot of shit. But I've never seen you mix them together, which is something that really helps to keep things kind of separated where they need to be. And
It's
I think
easier
that's
to
a gift.
accept reality when it's just like real.
I've always loved that about you. Always.
Thank you.
Like, one of the first things I noticed about you is just, it's just that's how it is. This is where we are. Not I wish we were somewhere else. Not I wish it's all this stuff. This is where we are. What do we do from here? And I've always loved that about you. And I think that that's a really good place for everybody to start, right? Because you have to start with reality, with what's actually in your hands.
Yes.
So tell us about your walk with Jesus, how it began, if you will, and we'll go from there, if that's cool.
Okay. Well, when I was little, Okay. So my walk started before or right after I could walk, because I was 3 years old when my walk started.
Nice.
My parents got separated, and my mom and I ended up going to Florida on our own. My sister and my dad stayed in Colorado, and on that journey, my mom had her meeting of God, where I'm not going to tell you all of how she got there, but really what it comes down to is a friend cared enough to give her an Amy Grant tape and a booklet and a on how to find God and what that meant. And on that journey, I saw my mom physically kind of whittle away because we didn't have enough food for both of us. And as a mom, what do? You feed
Give
your
it
kid.
to the kids. Absolutely.
Yeah. So I saw my mom shrink in an unhealthy way, but grow emotionally in a healthy way. And though I don't remember all of it, I was 3 years old.
Huh.
I have ingrained memories of watching her become, if that makes some sense. Like
Absolutely.
my mom's kind of been a wallflower. My parents have had their struggles. There's been all sorts of things that's their story to tell. That's not my story to tell, but their marriage has not been great. It's much better now than it was. There's still, of course, as in all relationships, a long journey ahead, but where they were at that time showed me where I didn't want to be. And my mom finding God and understanding where she needed to be, and that was to be with him. And we ended up going from Florida back to Colorado, and I got my family back. I mean, broken family, but a family. And through that, my mom had us going to a little Bible church in Basalt, Colorado. And that was our first church family where we really got to know people. But during that time, when you have childlike faith, you don't necessarily understand all the aspects of it.
Sure.
Little did I know we would be going from that to then moving to Utah, where our faith would be tested and solidified.
Oh, yes.
And so really doing that has made me much stronger in my faith and made me understand more about what the Bible says and what God's promises are. Because we went to Utah and we ended up going to a Baptist church during the early 90s. And at that point, it was very us versus them as far as how the preaching was. It was more angry. It wasn't as let's know God on both sides.
Right.
So I only knew the angry side of God and the defensive side of God, and I didn't understand as much about the giving, loving side of God. Both are equally valid, and both have a huge stake in the relationship that you have with him. And understanding that he doesn't accept all the things. He accepts all the people.
Sure.
And he loves all the people fully.
Loves all the people.
But you don't have to love everything someone is doing to fully and completely love them.
Nope.
Exactly.
And I didn't get that. But when I was a teenager, I went through a lot of loss. A lot of friends of mine passed away, and that was really hard. My first friend died when I was in 6th grade. And she was pretty huge to me, but in that, it was during a pivotal time in my life as far as my dad just got diagnosed with MS. I found out that one of my best friends was being molested by her father for all of our childhood. And then I had memories come back up in my life where I remembered being in the room during some of those encounters with him. And between that and a chemical imbalance in my brain, I slipped into a depression. And my mom didn't know how to get me out. She saw it happen because I've been an artist my whole life, and my art went from Happy Robyn to every eye that was on there, because I used to love drawing eyes. I still do, but they were all crying. Those are some big warning signs for a mother as your child is 12 years old and drawing nothing but crying eyes and blood and sadness and loneliness. And in 7th grade, I had another friend pass away. In 8th grade, I had I had 3 or 4 friends pass away. 9th grade, I had 19 people pass away in 1998.
Oh my
And
gosh.
so it was just the compound effect of grief and not having the tools to deal with it. Throughout all of that, though I was hurt, like thoroughly depressed and didn't see a way out, God was with me in that. And I know that he was with me in that for multiple reasons, but I really leaned into my Bible when it got really bad. I should have leaned in when it got just a little bad. That would have made really bad a lot easier to bear.
True.
Things that we learn.
Right.
But in 1998, I went from being, in 1 year, I went from being a wrestler and having a direction and being focused on making sure that my grades were good enough for me to keep wrestling and loving everything that I was doing to, well, I didn't love everything I was doing, but I decided that if everyone else was going to die, I was next somewhere in there. So I started doing drugs.
Oh,
And well, you know, it wasn't the smartest choice, but I learned lessons. And
True.
the last time I did really bad drugs, let's not say really bad drugs. I did a whole boatload of shrooms. Shrooms and some acid, because we were on our way home and we were going to get pulled over. And so we ate this bag of shrooms that was supposed to be for sale.
Oh no.
Choices were made, people.
Choices were made. I love it.
Oh no.
But then I had to go home.
Oh no, again.
That night in my room, I tripped out. So my walls were completely covered, including the ceiling behind the door. All of it was covered in artwork and posters and sayings and everything, because I'm an artist and I was a depressed artist and I was coping with life.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I had, obituaries from friends and things like that. So I was laying there on my bed, and then all of a sudden, Mr. Bill Lesheminoff in 9th grade, he was my art teacher. He was my wrestling coach. He was like my surrogate dad, because when my dad got diagnosed with MS, he kind of checked out on us because he needed to check in on himself.
Right.
And he was doing the best he could with what he had, but that left a hole. And Mr. Bill filled that a lot.
Mm-hmm.
And Mr. Bill, when he was on his deathbed, because he had 2 volleyball-sized tumors in his stomach, they were removed, and he was doing well, and then he got an infection, and then he passed away.
Oh my goodness.
But here's the best part. Before he died, Mr. Clark, Mr. Klein, my bad, started with a C, was in the classroom next door, also one of my favorite teachers. They were really good friends, and Mr. Klein was a Christian. Mr. Klein brought Mr. Bill to Christ before he passed away. And
how wonderful.
That's awesome.
That made a huge impact on me, but in this instance, it really made what he said to me, because in my tripping state, because I was really, really high, and then everything in my room started talking to me, which was a little overwhelming, because there were not a limit in the amount of things in my room to talk to me.
Mm-hmm.
But
wow.
Mr. Bill came out of, I had a picture of him that he drew, because we made, one of our assignments was to take our own image and turn it into a postage stamp, and then put things around it that we liked. And I had a copy of his up on my wall, and he came out and told me the stupid things I was doing.
Good job, Mr. Bill.
Right? And he was telling me, I can't believe you're doing this. You could have been, I had other plans for you. There were other things for you. Are you really going to go down this road? Is this where you're going to head? Because you're headed towards death. And I'm like, well, hello, that's kind of the point, because I'm going to die. And it's going to be soon. And he's like, no, you're not dying soon. You just need to pull your head out of your ass. So
good job, Mr. Bill, again.
Good job.
And I was like, okay. And so I sat there and I tripped balls for a while, and I cried an awful lot. Because there was really no way I was getting through that night without a lot of prayer. And the next morning I woke up and I was like, I'm done. I'm done. I haven't touched that stuff again since, but in that I started going back to church and I didn't always go to church. Church doesn't always have to be a building. Yes,
Right.
that community can hugely help you, but when I was a
Absolutely.
teenager, church was too hard and I didn't have connections that I needed. There were people at my church that tried desperately to reach out to me, and really, even though I was a beast because I was a teenager and I didn't understand how to receive help, those words of encouragement helped. So if you've got a teen in your life and they're just a pain in your booty, or they say horrible things, or they're just dismissive about your entire existence in their life, don't stop loving on them. You're
Never.
making a difference. Don't react to their reaction in a negative way. Just react with love.
Yep.
Because it'll save their dang life. It saved mine. I tried to kill myself multiple times. There's a rock in Utah. It's called Suicide Rock. People
Yeah.
climb up there, they
Yep.
jump off.
Yep.
People commit suicide and they'll paint on the side of the rock a little thing in memorial of them. I climbed up to the top of that thing and I jumped off. There's no places to land on the side of Suicide Rock. It's just a big...
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
And I jumped and then I landed on something. I landed on a ledge, like 4 feet down.
That doesn't exist.
That doesn't exist, still doesn't exist to this day. But it was just God going, nope, not
No.
now.
It's not your time.
Mhm.
Yep, you're still here for a reason.
Right?
Grounded.
At one point, I jumped
Yep.
in front of a bus. It went through me.
Hey.
What?
That feels so
Right?
feels so hard right now.
Weird
Nice.
stuff. One point, I took a whole bunch of medication, and then I woke up and I threw it up.
Ugh.
But like, it wasn't my idea.
To
The
throw
bad
it up?
stuff was my idea. The living through it wasn't my idea.
Oh
That was
no,
God's idea.
absolutely no. Yes.
Mhm.
And over and over again, it was him going, hey, not yet. Yes, I want you. Yes, you're mine, but not now. There's other stuff for you.
Mm-hmm.
And throughout that, I don't know if you guys know this about me, but I attract people that need help. Like my whole
Really?
life is attracting people that need help.
Don't say.
Okay, so let's go from there. I love this because you're doing a great job, and I know you were nervous beforehand, like all of our other guests were nervous at first, but you are doing fantastic here.
Yes.
Oh, thank you.
Just wanted to put that in there, and also say we met because of a situation where I needed help,
Mhm.
and this is how you and I know each other from that church, Risen Life, beautiful place. Up in, is it Cottonwood? No, it's
Holiday.
Okay, up in the East Benches. It's a beautiful place. Pastor Robert and Pastor Kevin, fantastic people. I just wanted to interject for anybody in the area there. That is a wonderful place to go if you're looking for a church family. You know, it's a fantastic place, and that's where you and I met. So anyway,
Yep.
Go on with your story. I just wanted to throw that in there. That she attracts people who need help.
I really do.
She kidnaps to help the ones that she needs help. You know.
Yeah. Well, and this is how I ended up where I am, because repeatedly God gives us all gifts and he gives us all opportunities to use what he gives us.
Mm-hmm.
And really, we just have to be either brave enough or stupid enough to just do it. And really, it depends on the situation, what you're using, whether it's smarts or not.
And who's watching? Like who's calling the shot? Because brave can and stupid can be in the same boat at the same time.
Yes.
So, go on.
So after the suicide attempts and the drugs and the stupid things, I mean, they were stupid things. There were lessons needed to be learned.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not saying that if you're suicidal, you're stupid. That is absolutely not it, because I not only sympathize, I empathize with every person that is in any sort of ugly space like that.
Mm-hmm.
But here's the deal. You're not alone. Like, even if you have no people around you anywhere, or it seems like no one gives a crap about you, God does.
Yep.
And he's always there.
And he will use everything, no matter how ugly or hidden or despicable thing in your life, he will use it and it will be glorious, but you have to let him.
Absolutely.
Yep.
He won't make
And that's
you.
really,
He won't make you.
no.
But he is always there. Always.
Mm-hmm.
And that's really the ultimate relationship, because if he will never make you, then you get to choose him over and over again. You get to choose him, which means, yeah, he's ultimately the all-powerful, all be-all, end-all of everything.
Mm-hmm.
But better than that, he uses his power to give us that choice. And when we choose him, he uses it to help us.
Mm-hmm.
So
Exactly.
I don't know about you, but I like to be on the team that I already know has won the race. And he's already won, so I don't have to fight in the same way. And I used to fight, and I used to drown, and I used to just, it was too hard to see through the fog of ugly.
Mm-hmm.
And stopping doing the drugs, yes, that helped, but it didn't get me out of my depression.
No.
I ended up in relationship after relationship that was not healthy, that hurt me. But I played a role in that too, because I let myself be lost,
Mm-hmm.
and I let my relationship with God be backburnered.
Mm-hmm.
And when you put him on the back burner, he's still there, but you don't feel his presence in the same way.
Right.
Sure. And you don't choose your actions in the same way either.
At all.
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
It's very, very different.
Yeah.
That's an interesting perspective to put out there. What
See
does
how
it
that
say?
says choose your heart? That's my reminder every day to choose God, because
Nice.
he's the heart I want to deal with.
Nice. That's easy. I like it.
That's
Yes.
good.
So I went from relationship to relationship, and yes, I had long-term relationships that may have even seemed good from the outside, but they weren't God-centered.
Mm.
And a God-centered relationship is the only relationship that actually has a strong foundation.
It's true.
And I know that intellectually, and I knew that intellectually at the time. I watched my parents struggle. My dad was agnostic. He didn't know God. My mom was Christian, and she was very alone because she didn't know how to have friends.
Mm-hmm.
My mom, for a lot of her life, just doesn't feel like she has friends. To me, or that she's likable. The thing that's
Love
weird is
your
my
mom.
right? She's amazing.
What? She's amazing.
She's
She's
one of
like the friendliest lady ever on the planet.
but she's super shy.
She is?
Yeah.
I did not get that from her.
That's because you met her in her daughter's home.
Drew, I did that. I did do that. She's amazing. I love your mom. Oh, man.
I do too. She's pretty fantastic, but she's
Mhm.
also married to my daddy, and my daddy has a personality that's bigger than most people in the room. And
Fair.
I adore him, but he is innately selfish. That is how he's been raised, and that's his challenge that he has to deal with. We all have a thing that we have to deal with.
Mm-hmm.
He is innately selfish, and she has chosen until fairly recently to cater to that selfishness.
I see.
And that doesn't help either of them, because then she loses herself,
Mm-hmm.
and he gets reinforced on that selfish behavior.
True.
And
Very true.
we treat people how to treat us. So what we put up with is really how we're going to continue to get treated.
Sure.
And that's not to say that victims are enabling the people that are hurting them.
That's different.
But there is a fine line between enabling and you're just a victim. Because being a victim, it happens. You can be victimized, but you don't have to live as a victim.
Yeah.
Amen to that.
That's the point behind that.
I think it's like a great big mile wide, big black line in bold.
It is, but when you're in the middle of it, it's hard to see.
Sure, anything in the middle of it, right?
Yes.
Mhm.
Agreed.
You don't
I
have the
agree with you
hindsight?
on that.
Yeah, right? That
So many
hindsight thing,
things.
that's super handy.
I say 2020, but I think it's better than that. Mhm.
I think it's 2015.
And then I met my husband.
Oh.
So my husband was not a Christian. He was a pagan. Yep. We had
is that like
Huh?
is that like Wiccan, or what is pagan?
Yes.
Okay.
Pagan is, well, pagan is
Wicca?
kind of a general term. He was Wiccan. It's easier to say pagan. It's kind of like saying someone's Christian versus someone's Baptist.
Okay.
Okay. Yes, you are, but this further defines it. Yes, Wiccan is what he
Yep.
was.
Yep.
And we were friends for like a year and a half before anything happened between us, but we're going to kind of skip through that. I was obviously not on God's written plan because you're supposed to be with someone who's equally yoked with you.
Mhm.
And so I chose the hard road. to
You
be
chose
with
your
I
someone.
hard.
understand. I understand.
Choose your hard. I chose that hard. But I also got really lucky because while I was pregnant with my daughter, our son, I had our kids 17 months apart. So
I know.
I was allowed to go out once a week, and I chose to go to church
Nice.
because I was on bed rest with both my kids.
Wow.
But I would come home and Gavin would be, what did you say this time? So what did you say this? Because he tried to pick apart the conversation, the sermon, and he tried to challenge all of it. And I understand where he was coming from, but at the time it was exhausting, painful, and it caused a lot of issues in the marriage. And then Pastor Robert came to speak, and his sermon was about the fact that God has already won and that we don't need to fight his battles, and he doesn't want to be the strife that breaks up a marriage. God
Right.
doesn't want to be the thing that tears your family apart. And accepting that, really surrendering to that truth, I think saved my marriage, saved my husband, and ultimately healed so many relationships in my life because yes, I fight for God, but I don't fight with people for God. I fight with myself for God. I fight with my own sin for God, but I don't need to fight with people. Wherever they are in their walk, I will love them right there.
Yep. Exactly.
Accepting that changed everything in my world because I grew up in church that was very us versus them, and you need to defend, attack. And that's not what God wants us to do. If he's truly already won, and he has already won, then why are we fighting?
Right.
Exactly.
That's dumb. That's like the kid that's going, it's my cookie, it's my cookie, it's my cookie, and they're holding the cookie and it's half gone. And you're like, duh.
Yeah,
yours. Good job.
I know it's yours. It's okay.
Stop throwing your tantrum.
You already have what you want.
We talk a lot on here about finding what we have in common, right, with other people, not in like the negative stuff, not the victimhood and not the, oh, I'm oppressed, nothing like that. We're finding what we have in common, right, with our belief in God. No matter where we're at, we have something in common. We come together, we build on that, right?
Yes.
Because in true love, in godly love, when I feel love like that and someone else does, the rest falls away all by itself.
It really
Right?
does.
We don't have to. That's the thing I think you're saying is we don't have to fight it because true love makes all of that fall away by itself. And I love what you said.
And my husband is an incredibly intelligent person, one of the most intelligent people I've ever met in my life.
Me too.
And if I can't trust in the fact that he's capable of doing research on his own, then is he as intelligent as I think he is? So instead of fighting with him on it, I made sure that all of the reference books that he needed were in his office at eye level when he's sitting down. And he would fight me and he'd ask questions and all this stuff. And I went and I showed him where they were. And I said, I can ask the pastor your questions. I'm happy to do that. But I would love for you to do the research too, because it can't just be on me. You're capable. And if I misword something, then I could be giving you false information. I'm human. I'm super fallible. I'll write you like thousands of books. I've got like Encyclopedia Britannica on all the crap that I've done that's stupid.
Right? Oh, man.
Right? But so I showed him where those were, and he started digging. He started researching. He started actually learning, not what he was raised with, because he was raised LDS. but he wanted to learn about this actual, like, Jesus, biblical God that I was talking about, that didn't hate him, that didn't require a checklist full of things, that simply wanted his love, just wanted him to accept his love. That's all. Like, there's not, here's your checklist.
Nope.
There's
Right.
checklist.
Yep.
Like,
Love.
do you love God? Do you accept him? Is he in your heart? Is he your friend? Yes. If yes, then it will show in what you do.
That's right.
But it doesn't mean that you got to keep doing in order to hold on to this top one that says accept his love. And so on the day our daughter was born, he was giving her first bath, and he had that aha where he accepted Christ as his Lord and Savior while giving our daughter her very first bath.
Oh.
And he didn't tell me.
Come on, man.
He made me figure it out. She's born in November, right before Christmas. That's when I figured it out.
Oh, man.
But
It's like
see,
a month.
I noticed a change in his behavior. I mean, when someone actually fully accepts Christ as their Lord and Savior, you will see it in how they behave. He was kinder. He was more patient. He was less prideful. I mean, he's still prideful. That's his thing that he has to deal with. But he was more the man I dreamed of marrying. And I mean, now I know he is the man I was supposed to marry. For a while, I definitely doubted that because of what I was seeing.
Right.
But when you're already in the marriage, God never wants you to break up your marriage over him.
Right.
He wants you to solidify your marriage in him.
Right.
And really accepting that and but when I figured out that he was a Christian, then I asked him, I'll tell you the story. He came out of the bedroom. He was wearing one of my t-shirts and it said social hazard, I will not conform. And it had all the fish like interwoven. And my husband's kind of a rebel anyways, like naturally. He comes out wearing that. And I was like, do you know what that means? Because I was like, you're wearing a Christian shirt, dude.
Right.
And he was like, yeah, don't you think it's fitting for us? And then he walked away. Like, what the crap, dude? Come back here.
Wait a second.
I was like, are you a Christian? And he goes, well, yeah, I was wondering how long it would take. And I was like, really?
Oh, that's wonderful. I love it. I love it. Every time I hear this, though,
That's
I do.
awesome.
I love it. I love it.
I still love it. It's still fantastic. And mind you, that doesn't mean that everything was smooth sailing from then on out. I had postpartum depression horribly with my son. I had it a little bit with my daughter, but with my son, I was hospitalized.
Oh.
And the only thing that got me through that was when they had the time that they talk about your higher power, who you should be leaning on. I was like, oh, dear. Because
Oh, dear.
I knew God. It wasn't like he was a new thing in my life. I was like,
Right.
yeah.
Oh, yeah,
And
that
then-
guy.
Oh, yeah, he's there.
Right? Well, and part of my problem was that I was trying to be perfect. But guess what? It's not attainable ever. Perfection.
Ever. Nope.
So let that
That's why we're here.
shit go.
Thank you. Let it go.
Yep.
You can strive to be your best, but don't strive to be the best. That's not a thing. Because once you meet someone that's the best in their field, it's only because this other person hasn't been recognized yet.
Yep.
Right?
Yeah.
It doesn't matter. There's always somebody better at something. And
Yeah.
it doesn't matter. It really doesn't.
Right?
Yeah.
Which is why I say I will tell people you're the best. And I mean you're the best.
Oh,
at
for
that
sure.
thing right that second. But that doesn't mean that you're the best.
Yeah. Yeah, Bree used to, our dad used to say, you're the best, when we were little.
Yeah.
And he was asked once, like, by Bree. And he said, she goes, Daddy, if I'm the best, what about everybody else? Or something like that, right?
Because he said it to everybody.
Yeah. And he goes,
Best,
well, you're the best like the rest.
Oh, okay. Mind you, that was my come to Jesus moment. Okay, I was screwed.
You're the best like the rest.
You're like, gee, that makes me feel super special.
Hey, it worked when I was 3. All right, it worked.
Yes.
And that to me
Totally
just tells
believe
me
that.
that he loves all of us the same kind of thing. And so in a way, I feel like that's kind of how Jesus would come to us, you know.
Well, and
He's
that
like-
first relationship with our parents really does have a
Mhm.
huge impact in how we have a relationship with God.
Mhm.
Because if we don't understand, I mean, yes, it can be strengthening, but it can also be damaging. So be mindful of how you talk to your kids, because if you're actually wanting them to have a relationship with God, showing your kids forgiveness, showing them understanding, watching your tone and the words that come out of your mouth, huge, because you want to make sure that you're building that foundation to make their life easier. I had one parent that was totally trying to show me God's way, and the other one that was trying to show me the way of the world. He wasn't doing it intentionally. And mind you, my daddy has come to God since then. My parents got separated right after I graduated high school again. And this time my mom was solid in, okay, well, you want to date me, you have to show up at church. And they dated for over just about a year and got to know each other again. And they ended up being able to come back together. But my dad found God through that. And I'm so grateful
That's
that
awesome.
he did, because now he's a great, wonderful grandfather to my children. Whereas with some people, I kind of have to deprogram my children after visiting them.
That is the perfect way to say that. Oh my heck. That is perfect.
Yep.
That was so good, because
get
you
that.
and I both know, Jamie, and
Mhm.
now Robyn, because you're here. We all three know that when children are around a certain type of individual and they come back, if they're acting completely different, you have to take the time, right, to get them back to them.
And not get mad at them for it, because it's not their fault that they're sponges. They're supposed to be.
They are.
It's good
That's
that they're a
perfect that you
sponge.
said
You
it.
just have to make sure that you filter the water first.
Sometimes you gotta wring it out, just wring it out a little bit.
Right. You can still get a clean sponge if some soap got in there. You just have to keep running the water over it and squish it.
That's right, exactly.
Clean it out. And occasionally you'll find that there was still some soap in there, and you're like, okay, we got to squish you some more.
It's true. It's true. But it's wonderful. I loved how you said that. Deprogram them.
Yeah. And we still
That's
do.
for
There's
sure.
some friends that we love dearly and we associate with limitedly. We want to make sure that we are able to have those conversations openly. Now they understand what we were doing after a visit with different people. And so now they're able to kind of build those boundaries up, because boundaries really are important in our walk as people and in our children's walk, to be able to do different things. Especially with the relationship with God, because it's really hard to hold on to that relationship with God if you haven't built boundaries. And when I say boundaries, I want to clarify, I'm not talking about building walls. Walls are unhealthy.
Yes.
But boundaries are healthy. Boundaries are respected by both parties, because you have to put up your boundary and you have to be willing to enforce that boundary. It can't just be, and don't do that to me. And then they do it and you go, but you violated my boundary. And then you don't do anything.
Right.
Yeah.
You didn't have a boundary if someone can trample all over it and you do not.
Right.
Okay, so we're going to go right there, because you led us there. What do you do?
Huh?
What do you do? Someone trampled it. What do you do?
For me, I know that we're live, but let me pause for just a second, because my air keeps coming on and it's really distracting.
Yes, absolutely.
Sorry,
Let's
I'll
go
be right
through
back
some of the comments. Go for it.
to
You're
talk
good.
about boundaries.
Yeah. All right. Say
So
hi to
Tina-
everybody. Hi,
Tina
everybody.
says, hello, everybody. And Tina says, good morning, my beautiful sisters in Christ. Christ? I'm in between job interviews, and I jump on to see you guys and say hello. Love you both so big, super big.
Hello.
Love you, Tina.
Love you, love you.
We will see you in
Couple weeks.
not very long.
Couple weeks. Smack
Smack 'em.
'em. What?
When they cross your boundaries.
Oh, nice. Nicely done. So we have Jacqueline and Debbie and Indigo and
Yep.
Ashley and Tina. That's awesome.
Ashley.
Hi to everybody.
Yes.
Welcome back, Robyn.
Hello.
I didn't know it was a high five.
By the way, Jacqueline said, so nice to see you, Robyn. Jacqueline.
Nice to see you too,
Remember?
sweetie.
Alrighty, boundaries. Since we got there, you brought us there.
Yes.
What do you do when
Mhm.
someone crosses your boundary?
So
My
it
daughter
depends
says
on
to
what
smack
boundary
him.
they're crossing, but if someone crosses a boundary that they don't know it's there, it's much like a child that breaks a rule that they haven't been told.
Right.
Don't get angry, don't get defensive, just go, okay, hey, so here's what the boundary is. You don't always have to explain why it's there, but if you expect them to actually remember that there's a boundary there, explaining the why really does help. This helps with children, it helps with adults, everybody. If you know your why, it's easier to remember.
True.
So let's say someone says something inappropriate to you, okay? Oh, what? People never do that in our day and age.
Never, ever.
So someone says
Inappropriate?
something that's inappropriate and you go, okay, I see where you might have thought that was okay to say to me, and I'm glad that you're comfortable with me, but I need to let you know that made me uncomfortable, and this is where that line is. I don't want that crossed again. So if you do, I'll give you another warning, but beyond that, then our contact's going to be limited.
Beautifully said.
And I've had people, okay, they violate that, and it's like, okay, well, just we've been here, right? So what did I say last time? Instead of you reiterating it, ask them, what did I say? And then they have to stop and go, oh crap, I did hear you.
Very good, very good.
And they go, well, you said that you didn't want to talk about that, or that was not okay for me to say, and I'm really sorry about that. Or worse, well, it doesn't make sense to me. Like, okay, I can respect it not making sense to you. Let's talk about it so it does make sense to you. But just so we're clear, even if my reasoning doesn't make sense to you, the boundary exists, whether it aligns with your boundary or with your values or not.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And so talking about it, why is it there? 1, I'm a married woman. 2, I don't want to talk about stuff like that. 3, even if I wasn't married, I'm not interested. It's
Yeah. Yeah.
Excellent.
You know?
Excellent.
And if they respect it, all is well. You don't have to bring it up again. You never give someone crap about a lesson they've already learned.
Right.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
If you get in a fight with someone, like my best friend will give each other crap about something that happened a while ago that she's apologized for, that I've accepted the apology for, that I've apologized for. That's a different relationship. But
Absolutely.
if it's just a friend, you don't do that, because that can damage things, and that means you're lording something over them. And that's not helpful especially not as a parent, but it's really not helpful in general. So say they violated again beyond that first and second time where they claimed that they didn't understand your boundary. And you'll go, okay, well, what did I say would happen? That we're going to limit contact. But I didn't know, or I didn't understand, or okay, well, I'm just going to say that I am going to take a piece out, and I'm just going to not. And you don't have to associate with anybody. We live in a world where most of it's online.
Mm-hmm.
Which means what? You got filters.
I love it.
Use them.
It's true.
You don't have to answer the phone
It's true.
Or
or meet
text,
for coffee.
messages,
Mm-hmm.
nothing. You don't have to
can
watch
unfriend,
stuff.
you can block, you can completely eliminate someone from your life if they're an online friend.
Mm-hmm.
If they're an in-person friend, you just limit your contact. It's easy enough to walk away. If it's your spouse, hopefully they have enough respect for you in the relationship to have that understanding conversation.
Right.
My hubby is amazing, but sometimes he doesn't even remember what boundaries are. It's not something he learned growing up.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
It's not something he ever really saw healthily displayed. And so teaching our kids that when he has a hard time really accepting, grasping, and like respecting is difficult, but it's not impossible. We have 2 pretty great kids. My camera is off and it's just bugging the crap out of me.
It's off.
I
Here,
can't
go
decide.
the other way. There you go, right
Yeah,
there. Right
there we
there.
go.
in the
There you go.
middle.
Okay, now I'm set.
All is well.
I have a slight case of OCD. Also, one of those things that's a little funky about me. And I was not in the middle.
It's brand new information. Nicely done. Okay, so you have these helpful videos that you're starting to do that you began just like a month ago, a couple weeks?
It was like a month and a half, almost 2 months ago.
Okay, that's fantastic. Do you want to tell us about that and where people can find you?
Yes, I'm on YouTube for Wisdom with the Y, and I will send you the link so that you guys can post it below.
Definitely.
Wisdom with the Y is our YouTube channel. I say our because my son and I are really the ones that are doing it.
Excellent.
And before I left Utah, there were some people that said, hey, would you open a YouTube channel and just like give me some advice every now and then?
Awesome.
Yeah, I want to be on camera. I'm not really
so
comfortable
good at
here.
it. You're doing great. You really
Yeah,
are.
you're doing awesome.
Thank you.
Mhm.
But my son, we homeschool our kids for the last 3 years. Since we moved to Texas, we homeschool. And for part of his homeschooling, where he's learning video editing and all the online profiles and how to do all of that stuff.
Fantastic.
So we're kind of working hand in hand. I'm fulfilling a scary thing that I've felt called to do. Because if God's calling you to do something scary and you don't feel qualified for, it's kind of kitschy, but remember that God qualifies the called. He doesn't call the qualified. And
right.
I am living proof of that one because I am not qualified to do this, but I'm doing this. And apparently I'm qualified.
God is qualifying
telling
you
me I'm
right
doing it.
now. God is qualifying you right now. Every time we step forward in faith, God qualifies us as we do it.
Absolutely.
Yep.
It's fantastic.
It's wonderful. So it's what with the Y?
Wisdom with the Y.
With
The
the
Y.
Y.
Yes, because like boundaries, like trying to teach someone something, if you teach them the why, it makes an impact. If you just say, don't cross the road without looking both ways, they're like, okay. And then they cross the road.
Right.
But if you go, hey, look, there's cars and there's things that are going to kill you. And if you don't look both ways, this can happen. Then they're aware of why it's happening and they might stop.
Absolutely.
You know? And sometimes you have a child that you need to watch a video of someone getting hit by a car so it's actually real.
I mean, some kids do.
Don't do that with every child. You'll damage them.
Yeah.
But there are some kids that it's necessary.
Truly, truly. I know that when working with the kidlings as I do now, because I'm doing the homeschooling with them, I know that one of them in particularly gets a lot more information when things are squishy and gross and disgusting, because I get the ew. Can we watch that again? And then they've actually paid attention. I can't believe we watched that. And then just every day. Can you see that one again? How about again? That one was really gross. Can we watch it again?
That's the link to your channel.
So
in the comments.
Fantastic. So everybody in the link right now, or in the comments, that will take you to Robyn's Wisdom with the Y, on YouTube.
Yes, right? And we'll be posting more and more. I've been posting on Facebook as well, on my personal page, and on, what am I on now? I'm doing Instagram daily, and I'm starting to do Twitter as well.
Ooh.
Just giving little bits of wisdom and trying to encourage people as they're doing different things so that people feel a little less lost.
That's fantastic.
We would love constructive criticism. Comments really, really do help. Deverick, my son, loves to know where he can improve. I do too, but he really needs that because he's really only getting it from mom, and I'm really only so cool. So
you are so cool, but I understand. We do need more, things to help us out. When we first started this, well, I guess it was in the middle of now, but anyway, we were like, I think this is a podcast, or what is it? And some guys like, no, it's a broadcast because there's a video. It's a podcast if you only have audio. I was like, oh, that's awesome.
It's
I didn't
true.
know. So there's a lot of things that we can learn from
too.
people. Yep. So we
started
got them
this
both
podcast.
going. So anyway, so that's basically like an advice
how-to
channel, right? That's what we have going there.
Right now, it's bits of advice and it's drops of wisdom is what it is.
Drops of wisdom. Have you ever thought of turning it into a Dear Robyn?
Well, and that's what I'd like it to be, is that people will ask questions and they'll have a comment or they'll have a topic that they're having a hard time with and reach out and go, hey, help me out with this. And then have me share it, because so many people, they feel alone, but whatever you're going through, it's not new.
Nope.
Like, no matter how awful it is.
No matter how awful it is, go ahead and finish and then we'll.
No matter how awful it is, someone else has been through something similar or even worse. That's
usually
biblical.
Both.
There's nothing new under the sun. There's just not.
It's true. It's true.
And so we just need to know that we can spread that joy. We can use these tools that, though many times are used for ugliness, we can use them for God's glory. We just have to be willing to be on camera.
See, very good. Did everybody hear that? Indigo, are you willing to be on camera? I know Debbie is. I know Jacqueline did too. Oh yeah, Robyn, doing good stuff. So give us your email address if that's okay. We'll put it across the screen in our banner. And if anybody has questions or anything they'd like to get drops of wisdom for, they can send you an email.
Robynisms01@gmail.com.
Say that again.
Robynisms, ROBYNISMS01 at gmail.com.
Okay, let's see if
taking yourself back in time.
Like this?
Is that right?
Robynisms01 Gmail. Yep, that's me.
Okay. Cool.
All right. So if anybody would like to send her an email, I'm going to, just for funsies, shoot her an email and give her some questions. Any advice for her YouTube channel, anything for her son to help out with camera angle or anything, right?
Yep.
Constructive criticism or asking for drops of wisdom. It doesn't have to be a
topic that seems like I've already, because I do a lot about marriage, comes up a lot, parenting comes up a lot. But if you're in the middle of something and you're just like, I don't even get how to get out of this. I have this situation going on with my parents or this situation happening in my career. I'm happy to address whatever. It doesn't have to be what seems like it would be that topic. I want to tell the story about going to Wendover.
Yes, do.
Okay, so how did I end up becoming life coach, doing wisdom with the Y and all this fun stuff? Because over and over again, I attract people that have problems, and then God just kind of uses the mouth and the wisdom comes out and helps people, right?
All right.
So this example is one of those that's like ingrained in my memory and makes me laugh every time. I went to Wendover with my best friend, Mickey, and it was my first time going gambling. I'd never done it before. And we went out in the evening and we started gambling and just going, I think I was like 30, something like that.
Ah, nice.
Yeah. But so we're going from, the slot machines or whatever, and then we played craps for a little bit, and then we went over to the roulette table, and I was like, okay, I like roulette. Roulette's fun. I don't really have to think much. It's easy to put stuff on both sides, so I'm always staying in the table, and I really like balance, so it's like super duper. And so I sat there and I was playing roulette. She was sitting with me. We were having a grand old time, and then this guy sitting next to me, he's probably 15 years older than me, he starts hitting on me. And I was like, flattered, married. No. And, boundary. And he was like, well, I'm married too. And I was like, okay, so now you have two problems.
Right.
Obviously. And maybe more than two, obviously. Yeah. But we started talking, and instead of him hitting on me, he was getting advice on his marriage, his relationship, and his career. And I ran out of money, and I was about to walk away because I was like, nice meeting you. Great time. I'm going to go upstairs. And he's like, wait, here's more chips. And so he gave me chips, and he just wanted more advice about his life. Okay. And so we're doing that. My best friend is like, oh, honey, peace out. I'm so tired. It's like 3:00 in the morning. I can't do this anymore. So she gives me a hug and she goes upstairs. Mind you, I have been drinking, but I'm not drunk out of my mind or anything like that. And God is definitely using my mouth because drunk Robyn is a very, very blunt person.
Oh, yeah.
that has no filter and isn't always wise. But somehow I was giving good advice. But then, so I'm helping him and whatever. And then there's like 4 or 5 really big, tall, I think they were basketball players. They were really big, tall African-American dudes that come over and they're like hovering around, like behind me.
Uh-huh.
And I'm like, dude, what's happening? And so they decide to play roulette too. And they're like, hey, can we get in on this therapy session? And I'm like,
Oh my gosh, that's awesome.
so I start doing group therapy. Some of it's career therapy, some of it
In
is
Wendover.
relationships, some of it's mama issues,
Was
daddy
it Wendover or
issues.
Mesquite?
Wendover.
Wendover. Okay.
Out in Wendover, which is where
Mhm.
Utahns that live in Salt Lake go to gamble,
To
in case
gamble.
anybody doesn't know
course.
that.
Of course. Across the
Yeah, but
border.
I was doing that until 8 o'clock in the morning, almost 9 o'clock in the morning. They
Oh
were
my
just kept giving me chips to keep me at the table because I wasn't paying attention to what I was doing anymore. I was just talking to them.
That's
But
wonderful.
yeah, and that's just one example, but that's the one that comes to my mind that like, not only did they were strangers that wanted my advice and it seemed to be helping them. I hope it did help them.
Mhm.
Mhm.
But they were willing to pay for that advice. And
Pretty
I don't,
wonderful.
right? And I don't have time to go to school. I feel like at this point in my life, that would be a waste of my time because I would be helping less people.
Mhm.
And so I'm utilizing situations like this where I can reach people, where I can utilize Facebook and YouTube and Instagram and Twitter and the different things that are people die on those places. They die of loneliness surrounded by technology and
Right.
people.
Yep.
Right.
1,000 likes and they're alone.
Mhm.
And I don't want someone to feel alone just because they're physically alone, because you're not. God's there.
Yes.
Mhm.
And in the depths of my ugly and the depression and the loneliness, I knew he was there. And that's how I got through it. You know, leaning into him. I did Bible study after Bible study. And I would get that little high and then I would drop and get that little high and then I would drop because I didn't know my way
How to
out.
sustain it. Mhm.
Yeah. And for me, moving to Texas really helped me get out.
Wonderful.
And
That's
that's
awesome.
I think part of that is that I was able to not be the me that was a kid that was depressed all the time. And that doesn't mean that everybody has to move in order to get their head out of their butt. But it assisted me on my walk. And that
Kind
was
of forces
God's-
you.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And it was God's timing because, I mean, my husband went to Argentina. He didn't have any seizures. Came back to Utah, started having seizures. We were like, whoa, peace out, Utah. We got to leave. And so we found Texas and we're like, let's see if that works. Well, God's grace upon it, because it totally did. We moved here and he's hardly had any seizure activity. And now we have to figure out what life is without that.
Right.
Mm.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's God working too, because he went to Argentina alone for most of it. And before he was leaving, I'm praying like crazy. Please, God, don't let my husband have a seizure in Argentina and be alone, dead in the street. And I just don't know where he is. And they don't know who to notify. And, you know, just
Yeah,
slightly
true.
crazy.
A little worried. A little worried.
But there wasn't anything for me to worry about. God had him.
Of course.
Mhm.
Like over and over again, God had him.
Mm-hmm. That's awesome.
If you could leave one bit of advice, one thing that absolutely solidified your relationship with Jesus, one thing before we go, what would you
His
give?
plan is better than your plan.
Mm-hmm.
That's beautiful.
That doesn't mean stop making plans. Plans are key to achieving goals.
Mm-hmm.
But don't put all of your weight on a single goal, because God's going to make whatever his plan is so much cooler than what you think you can do.
Absolutely.
Very true.
Absolutely. Robyn, we have loved having you here. You did
been awesome.
You did phenomenally.
You did.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. I feel like I've
Yeah.
been talking forever about me.
Well, that's what
That
the
was
show
the whole
for.
plan.
You know,
That was the plan.
was supposed to be your walk with God, and that's amazing. We hope you will come back because
Absolutely.
you know this has been a great hour, but it's only been like a gnat's worth of your actual life. There's so many other things that we could talk about. And I want you to know that you have said so many things that a lot of people need to hear and will hear, but also that have heard now. And you and I both know, and Jamelia, we all know that God works that way. All the time
always.
works that way.
What's in mysterious ways.
And so we are so glad you were here. Thank you so much for being here.
You're welcome. Thank you for having me.
Always we will have you. Yes. We love you. Okay. So what we do at the end is Jamie, she sings the Lord's Prayer. Okay. And after that, we put our hands together like this and we throw out blessings and say you're blessed, and we do the blessing fun thing. We would be honored if you would join us with that.
I would love to.
It's fun and silly, but we mean it. So it's both. Okay. Are you good with that? Yeah? All right. Okay. So, Jamelia, it is all you.
Okay. Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our debts as we forgive our debtors. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from the evil one. For thine is the kingdom and the power and the glory forever.
Yeah, that's beautiful. All right, and
you're
blessed. We're blessed, everyone. Clear over to Indigo, who is Welsh.
Yeah, she's in
down
Wales.
to Bree. That's the one Bree down under. That's like me, but on the other side. And then, bless in the chat.
Andy Robyn.
Cindy Robyn.
Thank you, guys.
We love you
You're
so big.
so big.
Don't go
Love you
anywhere,
guys.
okay? We're going to end the show.
Yeah,
but
stay there
stick
for a
around.
second. Hold on,
Okay.
Bree.
Oh, yeah,
Bree.
sorry.
Ready?
Yeah.
Ready?
Yeah.
Ready?
Get ready. Got it. All right, gotta throw to Robyn, and Robyn will throw to you. Robyn, this is a blessing.
Robyn,
And
ready? Ready? Jump!
Oh, yeah. All right, Robyn to Jamelia.
And you ready?
Ready.
Ah,
I missed. It got my face.
yeah, excellent. All right, everybody, thank you so much for being here. We will be back again tomorrow, 10:30 Mountain People Time.
Mountain
That's what
people
we do.
time.
All righty. And Robyn, we'll have you back for sure. You did a fantastic job.
Yes,
Remember,
ma'am.
Jesus loves you guys no matter what.
No matter what.
Have a good day.
Have a good day, guys.
And now, the reason we got out of bed this morning for music and the spoken giggles, Singing Mama and Auntie B are our very own soulful duets.